In this episode, we will learn about compare and contrast mindset.
And we will explore some key concepts around product discovery. Welcome to episode 23 of the Leading Complexity podcast. This is where we explore the art of leading organizations in today's complex and hyper-competitive landscape. We do this together with some of the world's foremost thinkers in leadership. My name is Tomas Björkholm, and with me I have Michael Göthe.
In this episode, we will listen to Teresa Torres.
Teresa is the author of the book Continuous Discovery Habits. She is also a product discovery coach, and maybe we should start by explaining what a product discovery coach is doing.
Yes, as a product discovery coach, Teresa helps product teams navigate the early stages of product development, and as a coach then guides them through discovering customer needs and iteratively testing solutions to make informed decisions on what to build.
Teresa was one of the speakers in our Leading Complexity program last year, and we wanted to have an interview in connection with that, but unfortunately she didn't have time, but she was kind enough to record a video. And so let's start looking at that.
Hi everyone, I'm Teresa Torres. I work as a product discovery coach. That means that I help digital product teams make better decisions about what to build. I do that by teaching them how to interview customers in a way that finds unmet customer needs, pain points, and desires, and by iteratively testing their solutions through experimentation and assumption testing. It's a mindset that's really critical when we're dealing with complexity. So let's talk about what do I think about complexity. Unfortunately, it's something we're facing every day in our businesses and in the environment of the world today. It's easy to think that when we face a customer problem or a business problem or an existential threat like COVID or maybe even artificial intelligence, that we want to oversimplify it. We want to come up with a fast answer. We're often forced to do so by our organizational context, but we've learned over and over again that in complex situations, our fastest answer is rarely the best one. With complex situations, what we find is that there's rarely a right or wrong answer. There's only better or worse answers. We find that our solutions have unintended consequences that are hard to predict up front. Essentially, it's messy. We find that we're engulfed in a lot of messiness. So for leaders that are facing complexity, the first thing that I would recommend, it's simple, but it's certainly not easy, and that's to slow down. What we know from problem-solving research is that when we're facing complexity, the best way to get better outcomes is to take the time to frame the problem or to frame the situation from multiple perspectives. So we want to look at multiple ways that we can frame the problem or frame the situation that we're facing. You can do this with other people on your team, so you can take time to individually frame the problem and then look at how did other people do it. What this does is it allows us to explore potential solutions based on the different framings. So each framing opens up more of the solution space, and it allows us to try on one solution at a time, one framing at a time, and say, what impact does this have on the solution space? This is really powerful. It unlocks this compare and contrast mindset. We know from decision-making research that when we compare and contrast our options, we make better decisions. So even though it's hard, it's rarely easy to slow down. If you're facing complexity, one of the best things you can do is to slow down, consider multiple options, and take the time to compare and contrast them against each other. In my talk later, we'll be exploring exactly how you can do this. We're going to dive deep on how do we frame opportunities, how do we frame the situations that we're facing, and then how do we use those different framings to generate multiple solutions, and then how do we set up really good compare and contrast decisions with those solutions. And we'll use experimentation and assumption testing to really evaluate what's our best path forward. I hope you can join us. I look forward to it.
Very interesting. So, Teresa brought up the concept of unintended consequences and messiness. Thomas, what do you make of that, or do you have any examples?
Yes, definitely. Long time ago, when I was a CTO of the company called Resfeber, which later became Travelocity Nordic, when we were bought by Travelocity, we quite early in stage we had a forum. We are talking 1999 somewhere, and it was very early, so we had a lot of users, but it was growing rapidly, so we needed to rebuild it, I would say. So we were sitting down thinking, how can we make the best forum we could think of? And we built it and we launched it, and no one was happy. A lot of complaints from the customers. They didn't understand how to use it. So we had to go back, listen to the customers, redo it again, and at the end they were happy again. Do you have any good examples of unintended consequences?
I think it's very common that we assume something, we try to build it, and we, of course, don't know how people will react to it. And I remember an example from a gaming company where the players complained about a specific challenge in the game, and it was too hard. And when they then changed it to make it easier, then player engagement dropped. Apparently, people loved hard challenges, and they didn't actually want to have it too easy there.
Yes, it's always hard to really know what the customers, why the customer are approaching you, and maybe that could be explained with something Teresa is saying in the video. She says, take the time to frame the problem, or to frame the situation from multiple perspectives. Maybe you have some explanation of what she's meaning with that.
Yes, so it's a key not to jump into solutions or thinking that we know the answer or knowing what to build, etc. We need to explore or make this discovery work to make sure that we are solving the right kind of problems for the right types of users. So one model that is commonly known among discovery coaches is the double diamond, where you actually have like two diamonds, and in the beginning there's this discover phase, or kind of you explore the problem domain. So first you can diverge on all different options, opportunities, understanding the problem, and then converge on the problem to actually then start to explore solutions in. And then you go into kind of the solution space and start exploring there and expanding, and before you kind of converge on some possible solution that you need to validate. And it sounds, when you explain it, a bit linear, but in reality you're going back and forth, you're learning, you're kind of integrating what you learned, you understand the problem better, and you go back and forth. But it's still kind of a good model to kind of remember to explore the problem domain, discover that first before you kind of start to defining the solution.
Yeah, I totally agree with the importance of really deeply understanding the problem. And I'm thinking of another way of seeing this is to totally understand why customers are approaching you, like your example with the gaming company. I'm thinking of a story I heard my wife told me. She was a long time ago, when she was a teenager, she was working in an ice cream bar, and they had a lot of different flavors. And at the end, most people anyway bought the strawberry, the vanilla, and maybe the chocolate. So if you don't understand why the customers are coming to you, there's a big risk that somebody say, well, we're only selling those 3 flavors. Let's take away the other ones and save some money. But the thing is, the people came because they loved to see those different options. Yes, they were selecting the common ones, but they came there just because they saw the options. So taking away all the other ones would probably make you have a lot fewer people coming in to your shop.
But it can also be that you have too complex kind of offer, and then you get too many options. It creates more complexity, it takes more effort and stocking, and also maybe more decision fatigue for the consumer. So I think I heard about Starbucks going kind of back to basics, because they had just too many options, and people, they start losing customers.
Yeah, again, it's important to understand what is importance. So a little bit of experimenting, but also being clear that we maybe not really knowing what the customers value from our offer.
Yes, she talked about compare and contrast, and that she referred to research and decision making. And it's easy that we think we have this solution, and we just jump in and come up with an idea of how to solve a customer need, a customer problem. But it's important to come up with different options, multiple solutions, or kind of compare and contrast them, and not thinking that one person has one idea only and then just running with that. So creating kind of a decision tree, for example, where you can kind of look at the different options, the alternatives that you have, look at their possible return on investments, and then compare and contrast them and enhance your decision making in that way.
Yeah, I think it's a big difference. If you only have one options, the question is yes or no. Should we have this or should we not have it? But you will probably make a lot better decisions if you have multiple options and you decide which one of those. And this is kind of the difference between having a budget process where it says, yes, should it be in the budget or should it not be in the budget? And compare that with having a backlog. Like which one of all those options are the number one and which are number two, and continue like that. Your decisions will probably become much better.
Think
Yes.
about it as investment decisions. When you decide to bring something into your backlog, it's an investment decision. And at least there is always an opportunity cost. Like if we do this thing, what are we then turning down or saying no to? So there's always this opportunity costs, and optimizing them for maximizing value is essential. And then you need to kind of compare and contrast those different options. And there are many techniques around that as well.
Yeah, I know that both of us are investing in companies, and we get those prospects from time to time, and everyone looks extremely good. It's like, just give us some money and then we will return a lot of it, which seldom is true, unfortunately. But I think I would have made better decisions historically if I would just have them all in front of me and say, which one of those should I go for? So maybe I should listen more to Teresa. We talked about budgets and the difference between budgets and backlogs, and that reminds me of the difference between projects and products. But I think it needs a little bit more of explanation, and maybe you can help with that.
Yes, as I used actually to teach project management a long time ago, and the project per definition is where you have a kind of a temporary goal, a temporary organization, temporary budget, temporary resources, etc. So it's great for like one-off initiatives. But the problem is that if you're using it in product development, rarely you're making a one-off product. Typically, it's a product that you need to sustain, maintain, that have a life cycle, and you need to have a strategy, a vision for that product, and understand how to kind of maintain it and optimize it continuously. So it's better with a product focus. And also with projects, it's a big risk that there are multiple handovers. Someone's coming up with an idea, you hand it over for some analysis, research, you do development, you do testing, and you hand it over often to a maintenance group or someone else to kind of maintain it or service it. But with a product focus, you typically will have a product group responsible for the full life cycle management of that product. And if, for example, building poor quality, that will come back and bite you, so to say, and you get feedback and ownership. So I think most agile organizations today are moving away from projects and more to a product focused approach.
And there is also a problem with the project way of working, and I would call it a trap, and that is the focus on delivering on the plan. Or, all this for this cost at that date. And the thing is that then you don't consider this risk of unintended consequences, as we talked about. And I think that is a problem. So you will ignore it. You will just keep on. You have your focus on the date and making sure that you deliver on that date. And honestly, most of the cases, that is not the most important thing. I mean, no one cares about the project delivering on time, but not according to what the customers want. Then it's worthless anyway. It doesn't matter if you deliver it ever, because it's not what the customers want. Then it's better to have more focus on what is a customer considering, why do they value us, what is important for them, why are they paying us the money or the time they're spending on with us. That is so much more important. And so I think it's a trap. As soon as we start with the project, there's this risk that we focus on the wrong things.
Yeah, there is a technique in project management called the work breakdown. What you do is you kind of make an hierarchy of all the work to be done. So you break down all the work, but the problem is, of course, that if it's complex, it's impossible to identify all the work up front. So, and even if you did, you cannot really put all those work pieces together at the end anyway. So it's much better to have the kind of outcome-based approach, the more agile approach, only breaking down the outcomes so that you still have a connection to the whole. And I think Teresa, she has a tool for that called the opportunity solution tree. Would you like to explain that a bit?
Yes, exactly. She's kind of very famous for this tool. And the idea is exactly as you say, it's to help the teams to stay focused on their outcome. So the outcome is the value we produce, the output is the work we do. And this opportunity solution tree, it's starting with some wished outcome. It could be a strategic goal or something like that. And then we break that down into opportunities, like we want to have 1,000 new customers by the end of this year. What are the opportunities or the problems? Why don't we have them already? Or what are the possibilities? How we can get them? Then we have possible choices. On each of those choices, we can look for different possible solutions, how we can then kind of use this opportunity, make use of it, and then we can reach the desired outcome. And then at the end we need to build some experiments to see if we actually are solving the problem and getting the outcome that we wanted from the beginning. The thing is, she's also adding that you don't really have the time or the money to build all those different experiments, but you can also, by having this compare and contrast thing, you could be just brainstorming, like the double diamond idea, about what are the opportunities we have, what are the solutions we could be using, and then how we can build them. And by comparing different solutions and contrasting, that is, focusing on the big differences between them, we could, even though it's just a thinking game, we could actually come up with what are the highest value experiments and do those, but still having the other ones in our thought. And if we don't see that the experiment is giving us the outcome that we are expecting, then it's easy for us to go for something else. And as Dave Snowden is saying, in the complex domain, we need to try, inspect, and adapt. So small experiments, test them in some way, get some feedback, and learn from that.
Yeah, so the opportunity solution tree is highly recommended. Okay, I think it's time to wrap up for today. We're curious about your reflections as always. Please share your comments and your experience about discovery work.
If you want to learn more about leading in complexity, we suggest that you check out all our earlier episodes. You can find them at leadingcomplexity.com/podcast. Or you can search for your Leading Complexity podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or hopefully your favorite podcast platform. And remember to subscribe to our channel.
Thanks for today.
Thank you.